I'm Brenda Powell, and I started with guides around 1978, where I was asked by Janet, who was leading the guides at the time, if I would help out with the summer activities.
I'm Heather. I was Heather Farr at the time. I'm 48 now, and I joined at the age of 10.
The first time we went on a walk with the guides, they all had lovely white socks on, and we went up the Glyn Valley, and we walked up there, and of course it's muddy, and we walked halfway and they all went on strike. So of course, as usually I do around, so I had an awful hard job to get them to keep going. So after that, I don't think the parents put any more white socks on them. We also did a nice trip in the summer down to Tenby. We went and stayed in a flat just by the harbour in Tenby, and we had a lovely sunny week on the sands there with Janet and Janet Jones, who was the leader at the time, and Pam Langton, who was a helper from Penkethly, and myself, and about 15 guides, I think, at the time. And then in the autumn, Janet came around and said she couldn't do guides anymore. She'd got family problems. So I've kind of got landed in charge, so to speak. But of course, I couldn't be in charge because I had got no experience. So in the spring, I think we found a lady who would come and take over, Betty Jackson, and after that, it just took off. So we had some fun after that.
We had lots of stays at Betty's house, didn't
Yes,
we? And
yes.
campfires, which
Yeah.
was lovely. I can remember that.
Mm.
I think for me, it built a lot of life skills other than school. And we did, like, obviously made lots of nice campfires and knot built, you know, it showed us how to make knots and cooking. And we went out and did sort of badges then, which was lovely. We went out, I can remember going to a couple of the elderly houses and doing chores for them. And I think, you know, on the whole, I think that gives you great life skills to take forward into adulthood, really.
Yes, and we also did a lot of, we visited the fire station.
Yes.
And we did a first aid course.
Yeah, first aid.
And we did self-defence course. Do you remember that?
Yes.
We had some fun at that, yes. Everybody tipping everybody over. And
That's it.
yeah, and
Well, we did cooking, craft making,
Yeah, yeah.
lots of lovely things, really, and it stays with you.
it does, yeah.
And for me, I did brownies, guides, and then I went on to Rangers, which was great.
We did also a trip to Switzerland. We stayed in a lovely chalet, you know, because Switzerland's got all these lovely wooden chalets, haven't they? We did plane trips. We went on a plane, didn't we, to
Yes,
start?
yeah.
Everything in Switzerland gels, doesn't it? You know, the boats match up to the trains and ski lifts. It was really a good experience for all the guides because
Well, we
they
did a lot
did
of
so much
walking.
and a lot of walking, yeah, and we did a lot of sightseeing.
We went up to the glacier, didn't
Yes.
we? And we went on the gondola, I remember that.
Yeah,
And
that
the
glacier-
view from the chalet was beautiful over, what lake? I can't remember
Lake
the lake.
Brent.
It was beautiful,
yeah.
wasn't it? It was just so lovely to be given the opportunity to go to somewhere so far away at such a young age. I think we must have only been, 11 or 12,
11, yeah,
was it?
12-ish, I would think, yeah.
And, to see the different countryside and the walking and the, different culture, wasn't
Yes,
it? And
yeah.
everything. As I say, it was just so lovely and enjoyable. And we cooked our own food and that in the
Yes.
chalet, didn't we?
Yeah.
And so it was just, I think it was such an experience that maybe somebody else wouldn't have given us. I mean, obviously me being brought up on a farm, I didn't really get any holidays. So for me, it was fantastic that, Brenda and that took us on holidays like that. It was great.
We did a boat trip in Llangollen for a week. I think it was my worst pack holiday or whatever one calls it. And it all started, the first day we got on the boat. And of course they show you how to steer it and things like that. And of course it was such a lovely Saturday. So we all kind of cruised up, and then we were sitting on top of the boat sunbathing and things like that. And we didn't realise we had to keep the engine running to keep the battery up, you see. And of course that night the battery went down. So next morning we had to get somebody out to come and put us a new battery. And then, of course, it wasn't because I was also in charge of the cooking, and I had to sleep on the kitchen table. But of course, I'm not an early riser, you see. So, and then the second night was it. We had a leak because it rained. I think it was one of the wettest bank holiday weekends for a while, and of course it rained, and then it was, I'm wet. There's something dripping. So we had to move all the beds. Yeah, it wasn't my best holiday.
We had a fantastic time, really. You know, we had such a lot of laughs.
Yes.
They're actually moving on down the canal and seeing the different villages and towns, and I can remember running out of water, didn't we,
Yes,
the
yes,
one day?
yes.
And the boat was stuck in the mud, and it was tipping down with rain, and we all had to sit on the front of the barge to get it going through the mud, didn't we? But for me, that was all fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, and of course there was also the time she said she dropped a shoe in the canal, and there was Betty and I up to our knees in sludge. And have you ever slept in the canal up to your knees? Looking for this shoe, and then they're sitting on top of the boat watching us, and then Heather says, I've got it. I nearly pulled her down into the boat, off the boat into the... Yes. They were laughing their heads off, of course, and Betty and I up to our knees in sludge. But anyway, she found her shoe.
I was
so
the
that was
wicked
the
one of the pack, wasn't I?
Oh, yes, we had some fun. I mean, even camping, we always had fun. Because I think I enjoyed it as much as the girls in a lot of cases, yeah. We tried to keep it fun rather than learning. You know, you were still learning your skills, and yeah.
I think you've got to, though, haven't you? Because I think otherwise the children will get bored, and I think if you didn't make it fun, then the children wouldn't be so happy to come. And I think that's great, isn't it? That it is all about fun. Now I help out with the local cubs. I had to go and do a PGL camp not so long ago, and. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, to be fair. You know, it's something I think because you've been involved and you just want to see the children having fun. The hall, I think, is fantastic, really. And I mean, the improvements that have been made now the last few years, I think for them as youngsters, it gives them something like the play area, the track. You know, my youngest son learnt to ride his bike on the track, and now my older son is using the basketball facilities and everything like that. And I mean, all the events that go on in the hall, it's just great, really, because I think it's important that the children do have things to go to. And I think I'm very strong for that, because I think, you know, it's not nice seeing them hanging out in just the bus shelter and everything. So with all the facilities here, it's great for them. It really is a lovely community, and I don't want to leave Talybont because of it. Do you know what I mean? It's great.